Hello, students, and welcome back to English class. Let's continue with the short story The Horse and Two Goats, written by R.K. Narayan. Part 3. So, in the previous part, we have learned how Muni was enjoying the trucks and buses that were moving through the roads near that hillside where he used to graze his goats. It was then a red faced American man dressed in khaki clothing came out and asked Muni about the nearest gas station. The same time, the man was very much attracted towards a horse statue which he finds to be marvelous. Muni wants to run away as he thinks that this foreigner in khaki must be a policeman or a soldier. But Muni was too old to run away. Then we find two engaging in a conversation. Actually, both are not able to understand each other's language. When American says namaste, we find Muni responding saying yes or no, because that was the only language or the English words which he knew. American introduced himself as a businessman from New York City. Then he lights a cigarette and offers one to Muni. We find Muni when a second time we find him offering the business card. At that time, Muni gets scared as he thinks that it was an arrest warrant of some kind. Then again, we find the foreigner busy talking with Muni or telling to Muni about some of the bad hours which he had to spend in his office at New York without electricity and elevator. He was made to spend only 4 hours of bad times, whereas little does he know the fact that Muni was made to spend his entire life with such poverty and difficulties. So now let's see what the foreigner tells to Muni further. So the foreigner has already told Muni as to why he is in India. He tells that it is to look at other civilization, right? And thus he has come along with his wife Rath, and wife Rath is now at present staying at Srinagar while he is taking journey throughout India. Muni looked reflective at the end of his long oration and said rather feebly, "Yes, no," as a concession to the other's language, and went on in Tamil. "When I was this high," he indicated a foot high, "I had heard my uncle say." So Muni thought, this man has spoken a lot, so now I should also balance his speech. So he thought that he should say something. There is nothing to be said. But even then, Muni thought that I should also speak something in order to balance the talk. Otherwise, if this man with arrest warrant might arrest me. So he starts engaging for a talk with this Englishman. So Muni is telling, when I was this high, he indicated a foot high. I had heard my uncle say. No one can tell what he was planning to say. As the other interrupted him at the stage to ask, "Boy, what's the secret of your teeth? How old are you?" So when Muni opened his teeth, you remember what his wife told about his teeth. What did wife tell? You have got only 4 teeth and your craving is for big things in your life. Something which you cannot chew, right? So finding Muni with 4 teeth, this foreigner is asking to Muni, "Hey boy, what's the secret of your teeth? How old are you?" Muni forgot what he had started to say and remarked, "Sometimes we do lose our cattle. Jackals or cheetahs may sometimes carry them off. But sometimes it is just theft from over in the next village, and then we will know who has done it. A priest at the temple can see in the camphor flame the face of the thief, and when he is caught, he gestured his hands, a perfect mincing of meat." So, Muni started to say something actually. It was then the foreigner interrupted, asking Muni what is the secret of his teeth, right? So, by the time our poor Muni forgot what he wanted to say. So, Muni started with another topic. Sometimes we lose a cattle. So, he's telling how actually the cattle gets lost. According to him, sometimes it is eaten by jackals or cheetahs, but sometimes people from other village used to come and steal the cattle. So, whenever it's stolen by others, what these villagers used to do is that they will go and visit the priest at the temple, asking where the cattle has gone. So, the priest, with his black magic, usually they do something with water and camphor. And if an innocent boy is looking into this water, he will be able to identify everything very clearly through that water, and based on that they will be able to identify who the thief is. That is such a custom is prevalent in some parts of India even now. So he's telling, and through that manner, if we come to know who the thief is, it will be a perfect. Then once he is caught, he gestured with his hands a perfect mincing of meat. Just like how we mince the meat, the same manner we will handle the thief. That is what he meant there. The American watched his hands intently and said, I know what you mean. Chop something. Maybe I'm holding you up and you want to chop wood. Where is your axe? Hand it to me and show me what to chop. I do enjoy it, just a hobby. We got a lot of driftwood along the backwater near my house, and on Sundays I do nothing but chop wood for the fireplace. I really feel different when I watch the fire in the fireplace, although it may take all the sections of Sunday New York Times to get a fire started. And he smiled at this reference. See, students, are you able to understand the funny situation happening here? Actually, Muni told the man that if we happen to get the person who had stolen the cattle from our village, definitely he will be minced just like we mince the meat. He showed the action of mincing the meat, right? American who was watching the conversation or hearing the conversation of Muni very intently thought that he wanted to chop something because he made the action of mincing meat, right? So he's asking, do you want to chop something? Then he's asking, where is your axe? If you give me the axe, definitely I'll chop for you. Then he started with his actions at home. I like chopping a lot. Usually on Sundays, I don't do anything. I simply chop the wood which I get from the with because we get a lot of driftwood along the backwater. And according to him, starting a wood get fire is a difficult process. So he will have to utilize his newspaper, his New York Times fully in order to get the fire lit fast. And he smiled at this reference. Muni felt totally confused, but decided the best thing would be to make an attempt to get away from this place. He tried to edge out, saying, Must go home, and turned to go. So Muni, he could not understand anything actually. So Muni was totally confused now, and he thought that the best thing what I should do now was to escape from this place somehow. So he tried to edge out, saying, Must go home. So Muni started moving one side, saying that no, I need to go home now. Do you think the foreigner will allow Muni to go? What is the main intention of foreigner here? In order to buy the horse statue from the owner, Muni. Because according to the foreigner, because Muni was seated under the pedestal of the statue, he is the owner of the statue. So Muni is telling, must go home and turn to go. The other seized his shoulder and said desperately, Is there no one, absolutely no one here to translate for me? So the foreigner started in a very desperate mood. He's asking to Muni, Is there not even a single person who know English to translate what I want to say? He looked up and down the room, which was deserted in this hot afternoon. The stranger almost pinioned Muni's back to the statue and said, So the stranger is now almost it pinioned Muni's back to the statue. Pinion means he hold fast, to hold fast. Muni's back to the statue and he's asking, Isn't this statue yours? Why don't you sell it to me? So that is a question asked by foreigner. The old man now understood the reference to the horse, thought for a second and said in his own language, I was an urchin this I when I heard my grandfather explain this horse and warrior. And my grandfather himself was this high when he heard his grandfather, whose grandfather started Amuni. So it was just then Amuni came to know this man is talking about the horse. So Muni thought, if it is horse, I should speak something about the horse. That is the nature of Muni, right? So Muni started in his own language about the horse statue. I was an urchin. Urchin means a small boy. It was just an urchin this high, then he is showing the height. Usually Muni make reference of height comparing with certain items, right? When I heard my grandfather explain this horse and warrior to my grandfather himself was this high. When he heard his grandfather, whose grandfather, simply he started dragging the topic for no use. The other man interrupted him. I don't want to seem to have stopped here for nothing. I will offer you a good price for this. So the man is telling. Now he understood that Muni has understood that he is talking about horse. So the man is telling, see, I simply don't want to waste time and I don't want to go home without this horse statue. You just tell me a price, I will offer you a good price for this, he said, indicating the horse. He had concluded without the least doubt that Muni owned this mud house. Fact was that foreigner thought that this horse belongs to Muni. Perhaps he guessed by the way he sat on its pedestal, like other souvenir sellers in the country presiding over their ways. So author is telling the reason why foreigner thought that Muni is the owner of statue was because of the way Muni was seated under the pedestal of the statue. Usually, that was the manner that Indian sellers, Indian craftsmen usually sits along with their vase. So, finding the manner of how Muni was seated near the statue, he had no doubt related to the ownership of the statue. He thought that Muni was the owner of that statue. Muni followed the man's eyes and pointing fingers and dimly understood the subject matter, and feeling relieved that the theme of mutilated body had been abandoned at least for the time being, said again enthusiastically. I was this high when my grandfather told me about this horse and the warrior, and my grandfather was this high when he himself. So Muni is now quite relaxed because he has understood that topic is not about the mutilated dead body and arrest warrant, it is all about this horse. So Muni thought that I let me speak something about the horse then. Then again he started a speech about his grandfather's height, his height and his grandfather's height and so and about the horse. The Tamil that Muni spoke was stimulating, even as pure sound, and foreigner listened with fascination. So for this foreigner, the way Muni spoke Tamil language itself, there is a clinking sound to say. Or there will be a particular rhythm. Right, foreigner was much attracted to this rhythm that he enjoyed his language with fascination. I wish I had my tape recorder here. And he was telling, I wish if I had brought my tape recorder, I could have recorded your language. He said, assuming the pleasantest expression. Your language sounds wonderful. I get a kick out of every word you utter here. He indicated his ears. But you don't have to waste your breath in sales talk. I appreciate the article. You don't have to explain its points. So the man is telling to Muni, your language is really awesome. I like it a lot. Then again, he's entering to the business talk. He's telling, you need not waste a lot of time speaking about the greatness of the statue. I appreciate it and I'm willing to give you money too. I never went to school. In those days, only Brahmin went to schools, but we had to go out and work in the fields morning till night, from sowing to harvest time. And when the Pongal came, we had cut the harvest. My father allowed me to go out and play with others at the tank. So, I don't know the Parangi language you speak. Even little fellows in your country probably speak the Parangi language. But here, only learned men and officers know it. So Muni is telling why he doesn't know English language. He is telling the reason he had never been to school. Because on those days, only rich people, that is, people from the Brahmin community, used to go to school. And what Muni used to do when a small kids of his age went to school on those days was that he was taken to field by his father and he was made to work from morning till night. And the only free time which Muni got was when it was harvest time. Once the harvest was done, then they will be free for few days. It was during the time of Pongal season. During when Pongal came, we had cut the harvest. Then my father will allow me to play with others at the tank. So he's telling, because of all these reasons, because I wasn't able to go to school when others children of my age went, I am I don't know Parangi language. Parangi language means language of these Englishmen. English people language, or the English language is what is called as Parangi language. So he's telling, Muni is telling to this foreigner, I know that in your country even small kids speak Parangi language. But here in our country only learned officers and learned men speaks Parangi language. The foreigner laughed heartily, took out another cigarette and offered it to Muni, who now smoked with ease, deciding to stay on if the fellow was going to be so good as to keep up a cigarette supply. So the foreigner laughed heartily, hearing the language of Muni. Not it is not because he came to know the content of the language. It is only because he enjoyed the rhythm of Muni's language. So Muni continues, I never went to school. In those days, only Brahmins went to school. But we had to go out and work in the field morning till night, from sowing to harvest time. And when Pongal came, we had cut the harvest. My father allowed me to go out and play with others at the tank. So I don't know the Parangi language you speak. Even little fellows in your country probably speak the Parangi language. But here only learned men and officers know it. So, in a very innocent manner, Muni the illiterate is telling to this foreigner as to why he does not know Parangi language. Reason given by Muni is that during his young days, when he was a small boy, he had never been to school. When other rich children, that is, when Brahmin went to school, what Muni and people like Muni and children like Muni used to do is that they were made to work in the field from morning till night. And the only free time which they got was after the harvest time, that is during the Pongal season. During that time, they were given chance to play in the village water tank. Otherwise, they were made to work in the field throughout. So Muni is telling, because of that reason, since I could not go to school, I could not learn Parangi language. And in a very innocent manner, Muni is telling to these foreigners, in your country, even children speak Parangi language. But in our country, only learned men and officers speak Parangi language. The foreigner laughed heartily, took out another cigarette and offered it to Muni, who now smoked with ease, deciding to stay on if the fellow was going to be so good as to keep up a cigarette supply. So the foreigner laughed heartily at the conversation of Muni. And Muni thought that it's better I stay with foreigner because till he is with the foreigner, it is sure that he will provide some cigarette supply for him. The foreigner, the American, now stood up on the pedestal in the attitude of a demonstrative lecturer and said, running his fingers along some of the carved decoration around the horse's neck, speaking slowly and uttering his words syllable by syllable. I could give a sales talk for this better than anyone else. This is a marvelous combination of yellow and indigo, though faded now. How do you people of this country achieve these flaming colors? So the foreigner, as if a great lecturer who knew everything related to the statue, stood near the horse statue and started speaking about the statue in a very slow manner so that Muni could follow. So he's telling how you Indian people get such a marvelous combination of yellow, indigo, and such colors for the statue. Muni, now assured that the subject was still the horse and not the dead body, said, this is a guardian. It means death to our adversaries. At the end of Kali Yuga, this world and all the other worlds will be destroyed. And a redeemer will come in the shape of horse called Kalki. This horse will come to life and gallop and trample down all bad men. So, when the foreigner stood near the horse and started giving lecture about the horse, it was once again clear for Muni that this foreigner is talking about the horse. So Muni thought, till I am here, I should speak something to this foreigner. So let me speak about the horse now. So he started giving another lecture related to horse. So this time, what Muni spoke about the horse was all about Kali Yuga and Kalki. That is, among the Hindus, there is a belief that um, another Redeemer will come to earth in order to protect the people, or in order to save the earth when earth is going through the very bad phase. So the next Redeemer means the Savior, someone who's sent by God in order to save the people. The next Redeemer who was supposed to come to earth in order to save the people, according to Hindu mythology, is a horse named Kalki, and it is said that this horse will gallop and trample down all bad men on this earth. So while he was brooding on his pleasant vision, the foreigner utilized the pause to say, I assure you that this will have the best home in USA. I'll push away the bookcase. You know, I love books and am a member of 5 book clubs. And the choice and the bonus volumes mount up to a pile really in our living room, as high as this horse itself. But they'll have to go. So what's the plan of foreigner once he buys this horse statue? He's telling that he will take it to his home and he will keep it as a showpiece near a showpiece at the place where now the bookshelf is kept. So the foreigner, being an educated person, he introduced himself as a voracious reader, or a person with number of books piled up in the bookshelf of his living room. And he's telling that once I get the horse, I will keep that bookshelf somewhere else, and instead I will place a horse statue over there. And again is telling, maybe if I do so, my wife might disapprove it. So here we can find difference in the culture of the foreigner and Muni. Muni is not educated. If ever he has got any education, it is the knowledge which he has gained from the temple. That is why he has good knowledge about Kalki and so, because he had heard a lot about Ramayana and Mahabharata. Whereas for this foreigner, he has got a true education as such. So for Muni, this Oz is a very sacred figure. He associates this Oz with Kalki, who is going to be the Redeemer of this earth later. Whereas for this foreigner, horse is only a showpiece that need to be kept in the living room. That much difference is there in the thought level of foreigner and Muni. And we find the foreigner saying that if if I'm going to keep this ox statue in the living room, my wife might disapprove it. But I will convince. Again, he's sure that he will be able to convince his wife. Muni continued his description of the end of the world. So Muni is not able to follow whatever the foreigner says. Right? Even the foreigner is not able to understand what Muni said. Both are busy talking, but both are not able to understand the meaning of each other's talks. So Muni continued. He continued his description of the end of the world. Our Pandit discussed at the temple once how the oceans are going to close over the earth in a huge wave and swallow us. This oars will grow bigger than the biggest waves and carry on its back only the good people and kick into floods the evil ones. Plenty of them about, he said reflectively. So, what he had come to know from the Pandits about the ending or how Kalki is going to save good people is likewise. That is, he had heard from the temple that towards the end of the world, or when the world is when the world is filled up with very bad people only, Kalki will come to earth. And during that time, one of the sign what one can find on this earth is the ocean water rising up. There will be huge waves and people will be afraid of it. Huge waves will come to swallow all the people on this world. It is then Kalki will appear in the form of Vladimir. And on the back of Kalki, only good people will be taken and they will be saved from the flood. Whereas all the bad people will be washed off in that flood. He said reflectively, "Do you know when it is going to happen?" he asked. Then Muni is asking to foreigner, "Do you know when the world is going to end or when Kalki is going to arrive?" The foreigner now understood by the tone of the other that a question was being asked and said, "I am not a millionaire, but a modest businessman. My trade is coffee." So Muni asked a question to this man. So from the expression of Muni, foreigner came to know that Muni has asked him a question. He don't know what the question is. Another funny situation. So the foreigner reply given by the foreigner is, "I'm not a millionaire, but a modest businessman. My trade is coffee." So foreigner thought something else and he's telling, "See, I'm not a millionaire. I'm only a modest businessman. And my business is trading coffee or coffee business." Amidst all his wilderness of obscure sound, Muni caught the word coffee and said, "If you want to drink coffee, drive further up in the next town. They have Friday market and they open coffee hotels." So I learned from passers-by. So now, amidst all these different and difficult words used by the foreigner, one of the words that caught the attraction of Muni was the term coffee. He came to know that the foreigner is saying something about coffee. Coffee, that is the term given for coffee by the Indians, right? So now Muni thought that, oh, this foreigner is in need of coffee. So Muni is telling, "See, if you need coffee, you just drive further up. There is a coffee hotel near the Friday market and you can get coffee from there." Foreigner said, so foreigner realized foreigner thought, what is this man speaking? I told him that I'm not a millionaire, and the man is giving some other reply, right? So the foreigner repeated it again. "I am not a millionaire. Ours is a modest business. After all, we can't afford to buy more than 60 minutes of TV time in a month, which works out to 2 minutes a day. That's all. Although in the course of time, we maybe a, we'll maybe sponsor a 1 hour show regularly if our sales graph continues to go up." So again, the foreigner he misunderstood Muni's talk with something else. So again, he is repeating. "See, I'm not a millionaire. We are not very rich people. We have only a simple and humble business. And to make it clear to you, what I can say is that our TV time is restricted to 60 minutes in a month. So as a result, we are able to enjoy only 2 minutes television daily. So if you have got more amount of money, if you have more savings with us, definitely we will be able to enjoy more TV time. And this could be done only if our business go up or if our sales graph is continuing to go up." So what he means is that how he is connecting his richness or how he proves his poverty or richness is by comparing with the TV time. More TV time a family is able to watch in America or in that foreign land, it means that that family is more rich. Since his TV time is restricted to 2 minutes per day, it means that his life or his family is leading a medium or an average income family. Clear? So now the visitor. Then the visitor, feeling that he had spent too much time already, said, "Tell me, will you accept 100 rupee or not for the horse?" So now he's coming directly to his business deal. It is all about the horse, right? He wanted to purchase horse from Muni because he thought that Muni is the owner of the horse. So he's asking to Muni, "Tell me, can you give that horse for 100 rupees?" "I'd love to take the whiskered soldier also, but no space for him this year. I'll have to cancel my air ticket and have a boat home, I suppose." Red can go by air if she likes, but I will go with the horse and keep him in my cabin all the way if necessary. So the foreigner is still asking to Muni, just tell me, can you give this horse for 100 rupees? Then he is telling to Muni again, if you actually I wanted the soldier also, because horse statue along with the soldier, sorry, along with the horse there is a statue of a soldier too, right? So he is telling to Muni, actually I want to carry the soldier also, but maybe it is impossible to carry it this time. This time I'll take only horse. If you're willing to give me horse, I'll cancel my flight ticket because carrying horse in flight is going to be a very expensive process. So I'll send my wife if she wants to in flight and I'll go by ship. That is the plan of this foreigner. Somehow he wanted to take this horse statue to his living room. And he smiled at the picture of himself voyaging across the sea, hugging his horse. He even imagined himself voyaging in a sea, hugging his horse statue. He added, I will have to pad it with straw so that it doesn't break. So he's telling, if you're planning to give me this horse statue, I will have to pack it very properly using straw. Otherwise, there are chances that it might break between the journey. I have my station wagon, as you see. I can push the seat back and take the horse in if you will just lend me a hand with it. And here we find the foreigner narrating his plan as to how he will carry the horse statue right now to his home, that is at Srinagar or wherever he is residing now. His plan is that he will carry the horse statue, he will pull the back seat of his vehicle and will keep the horse statue safe there if Muni can help him to put it in his vehicle. Can lend him a helping hand to pack this horse statue in his vehicle. So, dear students, we'll wind up our class here today. The meaning we'll continue in the next class. So, till we meet again, goodbye.